I'm looking at this guy, and I hate questioning it, but I'm going, how invested is he now in this program? Because he's out. Every time Ohio State plays him, if ever, I want him curb stomped into the ground.
What has to change for Ohio State?
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be a popular opinion at all, but I think it's Brian Hartline. Obviously, news breaking of him going to the University of South Florida to become the head coach. I thought last week, and you and I talked through this briefly, I thought last week was littered with distractions, and I think it reared its head.
Because the news broke midweek, which is not helpful when you record a podcast at the beginning of the week either.
Which meant he had been going and traveling to interview and doing the whole process. So I'm curious how much time he was actually able to devote to actually prepping and game planning for this. And I don't want that to sound like it's a total excuse, because I still think Indiana's defense just played a heck of a game. But I think that matters.
Yeah.
Then you throw in the whole Chris Henry situation where signing day, it happened, the news broke on signing day. And so all of a sudden you have this guy that's the number one recruit on your board, one of the top recruits in the nation, all of a sudden kind of iffy on whether he's going to come to your school. And you all of a sudden have to turn your attention away from prepping for this big game against the Indiana Hoosiers. And you're trying to make sure that you can keep this recruit. So Ryan Day is getting his efforts away from game planning and getting ready for this upcoming weekend. And he's trying to convince this guy to still come and play for him. And it took about 2 or 3 days for him to be able to go.
After he held off, I was surprised when he came back. Because I felt like if there was that much doubt, I wondered with the departure of Hartline, if that produced that much doubt in him, I wondered if he might not.
I don't know where I fully stand on that.
It's a huge get.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I was very disappointed.
I think Ohio State still, and then I want to get back more on the Hartline thing. I still think Ohio State is still the best place to go if you're a receiver. I think Hartline obviously did a phenomenal job of recruiting. But let's not act like Ohio State wasn't producing top-tier NFL talent at receiver even before him. He was a part of it.
Sure.
So all the people that are like, wide receiver you is dead, we've had those guys well before him. So shut up.
But you feel like the Hartline distraction
thing
may have played in.
I think it played a huge role because you're looking at a guy that knows he's on the out, that he's a head coach. He's not going to be some assistant somewhere else. He's going to be the guy. And so I forget who ended up saying this, but I was reading more about this, and they brought up a really, really good point. This is a guy that knew he was about to become a head coach right on National Signing Day. You think he wasn't trying to sway some commits? He wasn't trying to get in touch with some guys to get them to go to USF and to follow him? You don't think his attention turned towards his duties there? And then you even saw like pictures of him in South Florida midweek going and signing the contract. Immediately following the loss to Indiana, you go and you see him on a private jet getting ready to be flown. Getting ready to be flown down for his introductory press conference. Granted, Ohio State has a good enough gap between the next game, but you're telling me,
as a fan.
But you're telling me, I'm looking at this guy, and I hate questioning it, but I'm going, how invested is he now in this program? Because he's out. He's no longer a Buckeye. And I know that's going to tick some people off because they love Brian Hartline. I want Brian Hartline to have success at USF. I want him to be great. Every time Ohio State plays him, if ever, I want him curb stomped into the ground. That's just what it is. He is no longer a part of the staff. He is not a Buckeye to me. The second that he did that, and we talked about it with Lane Kiffin, I wanted them to cut ties.
Really?
What good does it do? His attention to me, his attention, as it rightfully should be with USF. And I think you saw that. And I don't want this to sound like it's an excuse for last week, but I do think it played its hand. I think you saw Brian Hartline very distracted. I thought you saw Ryan Day having to pick up extra work that he doesn't typically have to do. And I think that played some portion of how their performance was offensively, because the defense looked great. The defense was there. The defense is not why Ohio State, despite Charlie Becker having a phenomenal day, despite what the defense gave up towards the end of the game to help them run out the clock, the defense only gave up 13.
Yeah.
They had 2 chances where Indiana was deep and they held them to field goals. Yeah. Immediately following the interception from Sayin deep into Ohio State territory, they held them to 12 yards or something total on 6 plays. The defense was not the issue. The offense was the issue. The play calling was the issue. And I think that's mostly because Indiana's defense is good.
Yeah.
But I think a small portion of it, if everybody's being honest and not looking at it through Hoosier lens, then I think it's fair to say that you dealt with an unprepared, distracted Brian Hartline. And when you're getting ready to go in to a title run where your focus needs to be on the team you're currently with, I don't trust that his mind is going to be with the Buckeyes. I just don't. I think he's going to be in South Florida. He's going to be trying to figure out where he's going to live. He's going to be trying to figure out how to move his family down there. He's going to be trying to figure out stuff with his coaching staff and players and all the other things that I don't even comprehend that come along with coaching, being a head coach of a college football program, because it's so much bigger than just going and holding practices now. Yeah. If he's going to be a good coach, his focus isn't going to be with the Buckeyes. And so I don't trust, despite everything he's done, I get what they're trying to do by not breaking up the rhythm. I don't think it's doing you any favors by keeping the guy around. And with you having as big of a gap as you can right now before your next game, I think it's vital that they just cut the ties, let him go be the head coach. They bring in somebody, maybe it's a promotion from the inside, somebody that kind of already knows the offense, that can actually focus their attention on it. I've seen people throwing around Keenan Bailey, the tight ends coach, as a name that they've talked about for a while now as getting a promotion up there. I don't think that it's a permanent slot. I think you still in the offseason go out there and you try to figure something else out. But you've got to get somebody in that building that lives and breathes Buckeye football for the next couple of weeks, not some guy that during game week at practices is repping the scarlet and gray, and then the next second he's flying to South Florida and taking his talents to wherever to be able to go and coach South Florida. It ain't going to work. If they decide to keep him on the staff, Ohio State will lose to either Texas A&M or Miami.
Your lips, God's ears, etc. Also, South Florida is in Central Florida, which makes no sense. It's in Tampa.
Who cares?
The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.